Government corruption has never been more prevalent or caused more harm. It's why extremism is on the rise. It's why the financial gap between the haves and have-nots has never been wider. And it's why our planet is at risk of an extinction level tragedy. That's why I need your help to keep exposing the truth about the rot on both sides of the aisle. Become a supporter or a friend of the show today by clicking on the coffee link in the description box below. Friends of the show join me on a Zoom hangout once a month, and you guys can ask me any questions you want, and I can get to know you better. But the most important reason to help is to keep the show alive. Together, we can and will save our country and our planet. Thanks in advance and enjoy the show. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Plants and Politics. I have an update to share about one of Trump's Capitol insurrectionists. It's time for an episode of Where Are They Now?
Matthew Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
62-year-old Philip Kramer of California was seen on surveillance camera inside the Capitol on January 6th, and he admitted to coworkers that he was there. He actually even admitted to purchasing a 2x4 to break in, and Kramer warned his coworkers that there was going to be a war on the day of Joe Biden's inauguration. But when he was interviewed by the FBI in March, actually on March 18th of last year, all of a sudden, he became a weak sheep. He told the FBI that he was pushed into the building by the crowd. I just hate it when that happens, when for some reason my body just won't work. It won't turn around like I want it to and move in the opposite direction. Is he some warrior that's going to take part in a war on Inauguration Day, or is he so weak that he just gets swept along with the crowd like a stray plastic bag? Anyway, Kramer did admit to the agents that he entered the Capitol, and he said that he went in with a snowboard helmet, a walking cane, and a master lock that he was holding on a rope for protection. And he admitted to stealing a do not enter sign. But Kramer said that he threw it away after he got back to California and after he heard that things got crazy. Then 2 days after his FBI interview, Kramer reached out to the agents again, and he tried to explain why he thought he needed protection. He told the FBI that he had received threats over the past 4 years and that he had nighttime drive-bys and that he had a flag that was stolen from his backyard. I don't know if any of that's true or if Kramer is just a little paranoid. Anywho, Kramer was arrested on April 14th of last year, and he was charged with one count of entering a restricted building or grounds, a second charge of entering a restricted building or grounds with a dangerous weapon, disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, and theft of government property. So Kramer pleaded guilty in December to the parading charge. Why the prosecutor allowed that, I have no idea. So he was looking at up to 6 months in jail, up to 5 years of probation, and up to $5,000 in fines. But all of the attorneys involved in this case appear to have been completely played by this guy, including the prosecutor. In a sentencing brief filed with the court, the prosecutor said that in meetings with the FBI, Kramer, quote, expressed his regret for going to Washington, D.C., stealing the sign and entering the Capitol. And then Kramer's attorney wrote that he was a law-abiding citizen who made a, quote, mistake he will regret for the rest of his life. However, the Orange County Register reached out to Kramer right after his indictment, and he told the reporter that he, quote, did nothing wrong, and that he went to the Capitol, quote, for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. And at the sentencing hearing, Kramer seemed to contradict his statements in the statement of offense. That's where you have to agree basically to everything that you did. Because in court, he told U.S. District Judge Emmett Sullivan, quote, I would like to say I regret my actions that day. I would like to tell the story of what actually happened. I'm not that person. I didn't bring the helmet. I would never hurt or harm anyone. So Judge Sullivan had to temporarily halt the proceedings because Kramer previously admitted to taking the helmet with him. But then at the hearing, it appeared that he was denying taking it to DC. So Kramer had to clarify that he took the helmet, but it wasn't because he planned to perpetrate violence. So in just trailing off on his statement like that, it sounded like he was all of a sudden changing his testimony. So the judge asked Kramer, quote, "Why did you bring a helmet and a strap with a lock? Why did you bring all that to the Capitol?" And then Kramer replied that he had heard that at previous Trump rallies, quote, "people were getting knocked out and rocks thrown at them. I was by myself that day. I was all alone. I've never been to Washington, D.C. at all. It was just for my protection, to be honest with you." Reporters who took part in the hearing say that Kramer became increasingly emotional and he struggled to speak at times. And he told the judge, quote, "I had a boring life. I want to go back to that boring life. I've learned my lesson. This past year has been hell on me." Judge Sullivan then shot back at him and said, quote, "It's been hell on a whole lot of police officers who were assaulted that day." And then Kramer tried his BS excuse of being pushed into the Capitol, and luckily the judge called him out on it. Sullivan said, quote, "I don't believe you got pushed in." And the judge also questioned whether or not Kramer brought the weapons for protection or to use against Trump protesters. And then things got a little heated and they had to take a break. And then Judge Sullivan said that Kramer was, quote, "identical to these defendants who have lived crime-free lives. They've been great Americans. Then all of a sudden they go off the deep end because someone off the deep end pushes them." And he went on to tell Kramer's attorney, quote, "Your client's not a horrible person. I want him to hear that from me. By all accounts, he just went off the deep end on this because other people off the deep end lured them. They pulled them off the high tower into the deep water." And then to Kramer, he said, quote, "You're not a bad person. You just made a dumb decision here. I do, however, believe the government's recommendation of 30 days is eminently fair and reasonable, considering your behavior before the event. I was inclined before the hearing to sentence you to more than 30 days, even though the government hadn't considered it." With that, the judge sentenced him to 30 days in jail and 100 hours of community service. And then he also ordered Kramer to pay a $2,500 fine and a $500 restitution fee. So once again, we see the January 6th sympathizing prosecutors completely choke. Rather than requiring this man to plead to one of the felony charges after he literally stole government property, they let him off the hook. They give him this pathetic parading charge. And just for the mere fact that he keeps lying about how and why he entered the Capitol, he should have gotten a longer sentence. You know, we also see, once again, another January 6th defendant whose only remorse was for what he's going through. He didn't say anything about the officers, the lawmakers, the people who work at the Capitol. He didn't mention their families, you know, especially the ones who lost a loved one because of head trauma, because they then took their own lives. No, he's been through hell. Well, that was a hell of your own making. Anyway, guys, if I hear more about this guy, I will let you know. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.